New Washington Post ABC News poll shows a majority of Americans are not happy with President Biden's handling of the southern border. 51% of respondents saying they disapprove, compared to just 33% saying they do approve.
Former President Trump slamming the Biden administration's handling of the illegal immigration crisis during his Save America rally over the weekend.
We will not stop and we will not rest until illegal policies are overturned. And there's so many of them. They work so quickly. Under my administration, we stood up to the open borders lobby, and it is a big and powerful lobby, and nobody knows why. How the hell is this good for our country? People coming in, they're releasing them from prisons. They're criminals at the highest level, murderers, drug dealers.
Well, President Trump visited a section of the border, of course you'll remember that, where officials say that crossings are 230% higher and 800 miles away from that area. The vice president's trip was instead to El Paso. Joining us now to discuss is the sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, and advisory committee member for Project America Now, one of our favorites, Sheriff Mark Lamb. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Heather and Bob.
So what do you think about what President Trump had to say there about the border in relation to what's happened under the Biden administration?
He's exactly right. You know, we can see now the numbers have shored up the fact that he was doing a great job. His policies were working. And what they did is they completely came in, undid those policies, and now they're not working. And they're jeopardizing our communities, not only in Arizona or on the border, but all across this country with the amount of illegal human trafficking and drug trafficking that's coming into this country.
How would you compare it to, how long have you been working in that area? And can you do some comparisons, not numbers wise, but what you've seen? What's different now versus what you've seen in the past?
You know, I was sheriff under President Trump, so it was a very big difference. You know, there were times where my anti-smuggling unit came to me and said, "Hey, Sheriff, we're not in jeopardy of being disbanded, are we?" Because of the lack of traffic that was coming through. But now that's completely the opposite. I don't have enough guys to put on there to deal with the issues coming across. This is like the Obama days. It's just much worse than even those days. So we're concerned because this affects our community, affects my staffing level. The amount of fentanyl and methamphetamines coming in should be alarming to every American. It's alarming to me. I'll tell you, that poll that you guys showed, it's concerning to me that there are still 33% of Americans who believe that this administration is doing a good job as it relates to border security. That honestly should be, I don't know, it should be less than 10% at least.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we were able to pull the portion of my interview with President Trump, because I was able to speak with him exclusively before he went out on stage about specifically the border. And he was talking about the drug trafficking that you were referencing, but he's very, very concerned about the human trafficking and the lack of support for our law enforcement and Border Patrol officers there at the border.
Right. And his concern should be valid. And I did watch that interview this morning, Heather. You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
But he should be concerned, and so should every other American. The amount of illegals coming into this country, the human trafficking, we fight against this every day. And I always say politics shouldn't matter, because if you care about human beings, you should absolutely care about what the cartel does to these people. They abuse the women, the children, and they extort the men and force them to carry drugs. So this should be alarming to every American. And I'm glad that we have a former president who understood it. We got to get this new presidency or this new administration to figure out that they are very wrong and they need to fix it, and they need to fix it now.
Sheriff, the problems that start at the border don't stay at the border. You are not in a border county, but I did want you to give people a feel for what affects your county. You're located southeast of Phoenix. And if you could describe your area and how it has been affected, sir.
Yeah, Bob, we're about 60 miles off the border. So what we have on the south end of our county is a Native American reservation, which actually extends into Mexico. There is no wall there. There's 3 strands of barbed wire fence at best, maybe some Normandy barrier. And while the Border Patrol and ICE are dealing with all these unaccompanied minors and families trying to come through the checkpoints, we're dealing with the military-age men from all different countries coming through the desert, trafficking humans in, trafficking drugs in. And we see the residue of that in our county. We see all the camouflage clothes, the carpet shoes that they use to mask and detect their trafficking. We see the backpacks that were used to carry drugs into our communities. And this is something we can go out and catch every day. And now with the heat, we're dealing mostly humanitarian missions where we have to save the people that the cartels leave for dead in the desert.
All right. Sheriff Mark Lamb, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.